Didn't the other kids tell you not to come here? Go back before it's too late!
At the heart of horror, there has always been more than spooks and scares.
Sometimes, it's not what you see, but what you hear.
Welcome to Sound Scary.
Each week, we talk to the artists, the musicians, the fans, the people who haunt the shadowy corners of your mind.
Join us as we delve into the deepest,
Darkest,
and most unforgettable earscapes.
welcome to Sound Scary.
Welcome to another episode of Sound Scary. I'm your host, Ryan Cultrera.
And I'm JimmyO, and I'm really excited about tonight's guest. Amber Sealey has one of the best films I've seen as of late about serial killers. It's something that we've never covered on this particular show. Amber, how did you get involved with this story and this beautiful script?
Yeah, it was so special. I mean, it came to me through the normal channels. My manager, the script came to my manager. My manager sent it to me to consider. And my first thought was like, me and a Bundy film? Like, that's not a sort of, no one who knew my previous work would have assumed that I would be a good fit for a Bundy film. But I thought, well, what the hell, I'll read it. It was such a beautiful read. It's such a great script. And it just, I flew through it and I had a vision and I was like, well, because sometimes you read something and you're like, I just don't connect to this. And sometimes you read it and you're like, I have a vision for this film. And I thought, well, you know what the hell, I'll go in and I'll pitch on it. I'd heard of SpectreVision. I really liked what I'd heard about them and heard about Elijah. Of course, I've always been a fan of Elijah's. And so I went in and gave my pitch and I thought, if they like it, great. If they don't, great. It doesn't matter. I just kind of give my take, and they loved it, and so it just immediately felt like a meeting of minds. They really took to my take on the film, and I really took to them as producers because I felt like they're really like filmmakers. They really, they get into the muck with you and they're really there to support your vision. And they did that throughout the whole process. They were really like, we want to make your movie. We're not here to kind of tell you what kind of movie you have to make. And it was just a wonderful process. I mean, I think it was very life affirming also because, the beginning of the pandemic, we were one of the first movies to come out after everything shut down, in March and April. We were one of the first movies in Los Angeles to come back and film. And so it was a kind of powerful experience for all of us because we hadn't been out of our homes for like 6 months,
Yeah. And one of the things that I loved about your film was its restraint, because I watch a lot of true crime, and one of the things I love about your movie is for a character who is defined by death and the salacious, like, you don't show any of that. Like, I feel like it's so easy to portray Ted Bundy as kind of this charming, roguish devil in so many things, and I love the way that you put him on screen. Can you talk about your approach to this character?
Yeah, well, so we were really lucky in that we had the real Bill Hagmaier. He's a producer on the film, and we had his involvement, and he just gave us such a treasure trove of information and intel, and he gave us these actual recordings that he had made with Bundy. They're hours. Wow. I mean, he met with him over a period of 5 years, and each time they'd sit down for 2 to 3 hours, and so we had the actual, Bundy and Bill's real conversations. And so listening to those, what really struck me was like, he's a sort of incel guy. He's a narcissistic, like definitely a psychopath and definitely self-obsessed. That was what stood out to me, was like his insecurity, his desperate need for Bill to think he was smart, to think he was interesting, to think he, could have also been a profiler. That jumped out at me from their recorded conversations. And so that was the part that drew me in, was I was like, yeah, he's I don't think he's stunning. He's good looking. I think they sort of built him up to be much better looking than he really was. I mean, if you really look at the photos, you're like, he's fine looking, but he mostly just looked like a normal guy. I think that was why people got drawn in, because a lot of serial killers, you look at them and you go, oh wow, yeah, that guy's scary. I would cross the street whereas Bundy looked like a normal guy, but I don't think he looked like a model. I think Luke Kirby is much better looking than Ted Bundy was, personally. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I think, he was just an average looking guy. And somehow there's been this mythologizing of him as that he was this mastermind, he was just lured people in. And really what he did was he looked normal and he appealed to women's sense of helping others. He realized that women are socialized to help people and to take care of people. And so he was like, oh, if I'm wearing an arm brace and I can't hold all my books, or I'm having trouble making it up the stairs, carrying something, a woman is going to stop and help me, particularly a young woman, because that's how we're raised, to be always nice and please people and help people and never upset anyone and always make everyone like you, right? And so, he realized that. He was smart enough to realize that. But after that, I don't think he was like a genius at all. I think it's really clear to me from the recorded conversations with Bill that he was, he was intelligent, but he wasn't as smart as he wanted to think he was, or wanted people to think he was. That was really important to him, that others thought he was really smart. And Bill saw that. Bill was like, this guy needs to know that I think he's smart and that I think he could be a profiler, he could be a cop,
Wow.
One thing that was interesting that Bill told me was that in their conversations, Bundy never liked to refer to himself when he was talking about crimes. He would say, well, if a guy were to do this, a guy would get and he would hardly ever say I. And a few times he messed up and he did say I. And Bill was really smart. He realized that when Ted did that, Ted would get flustered and be embarrassed and would kind of retreat and sometimes want to end the conversation. And so Bill would go, oh, I'm sorry, Ted, what was it you were saying? My mind wandered from it. I didn't hear you. And he would pretend that he didn't hear Bundy say I, to keep Bundy in the moment. Yeah.
I gotta say, going in, I was thinking a lot about serial killers, especially in the 70s. It was such a shockingly popular, terrible word to use, but yes, it was very common.
It was a busy time.
Time. It must be. How did you feel, like, emotionally, like physically, basically demystifying this kind of horrible legend in a way?
It's kind of boogeyman.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question. I mean, I think I didn't, because I wasn't the first one to do that. I feel like there were before me, there were 20 movies made about Bundy. There are now 22, including mine, and so there was such a wealth of written and videoed information for me to, so I wasn't like, I don't have to crack this guy for the first time. I just felt like I was adding my perspective, which was different from the others that had come before, but I feel like cracking who he was had kind of already been done. I definitely felt like for Hollywood, he had been portrayed as more glamorous than I took him to be. Yeah. So I was doing my version, which was, like I said, a much more insecure, narcissistic guy. But what was more interesting to me was cracking Bill. Like, I was more fascinated with, who is this guy who has to sit so close to evil? Like, how does he maintain his sanity? How does he maintain being a good person? And he is truly, like, he's a devoted husband, a devoted father, a devoted grandfather. Like, he's really just a sweet, generous, giving guy. And I thought, how does someone like that, if your job is just surrounding he worked with Eileen Wuornos, he worked with so many famous serial killers. Yeah, and probably every famous serial killer you've heard of that was alive then, he worked with them. And so I just was fascinated with, how do you not go crazy? If I did that, I think I would go crazy. I was just saying, I have some pictures that Bill Hagmaier sent me here in my office that are of Bundy that are the actual.
Oh my gosh.
That's
like
wild.
these are the pictures, you know, that were in the room. And I just was like, I don't want these. I have children, you know, and I was like, I don't want these. I had to like put them away in a box because I just was thinking,
Yeah.
I don't want, you know. So, but maybe it speaks to my, I don't know. It didn't deeply affect me, you know. I didn't look into too much, you know, like the specifics of his crimes. I mean, I didn't need to see photos of beheaded women, and you know, I did learn that, you know, that almost every serial killer, and I mean literally almost everyone, is a necrophiliac, right? That's when you have sex with them after they are dead. That was something that Bill also told me. So that was, you know, of course, gross to learn, but I also think it's just another indicator of like, those people are not well in their, you know, they're not all there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't have nightmares. I don't know if that says something bad about me, but I didn't have nightmares. I didn't like worry more. I mean, maybe part of it is that, like, you know, because of the pandemic, we're hardly leaving our house, you know, so it wasn't like I was walking down a dark street and feeling scared, because it's like, I'm just in my pajamas at home. So, but I was more worried, honestly, about the pandemic and the safety and health of the crew. I wanted to keep everybody alive. You know, that would have been the worst for somebody to have gotten COVID and died.
Oh my gosh.
Filming. I never would have gotten over that. So we really luckily had no positive cases. We kept everybody healthy and safe, which is really.
It's good to hear for sure.
Yeah.
Now,
I just have to say, I'm loving your cricket bat behind you.
Thank you. It's a Shaun of the Dead cricket bat.
Yeah, I did 2 movies with Simon Pegg. Him and I he played husband and wife in a movie, and then I lived in England for a long time. So.
Oh, no kidding!
Wow.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, he's sweet.
He is an excellent guy. I've been to a couple little events with him.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I like you did with this film is kind of by using the kind of the grotesque kind of back and forth of showing these people outside celebrating this execution. I felt like you were kind of holding a mirror up to our culture's obsession with true crime. Why do you think like we're so into true crime right now? There's a million podcasts, but it shows that we've always kind of been into that.
I'm so glad you picked up on that. Yeah, I mean, you know, look, we're all guilty of that. I'm not trying to hold up a mirror to just fans of the genre, you know, it's more like all of us. I mean, I do think there's something human about, it's the rubbernecking on the freeway, right? You drive by a car crash, you look, it's in a sense, I want to assume that it comes from a place of caring. We all know what it feels like to be scared. We all know what it feels like to be worried about dying. And so I think that when we're confronted with somebody else's fear and or death, it's interesting to us, you know. I mean, I like true crime a fair amount. I'm not a huge fan. I don't watch a ton of it, but I certainly watch the stuff that comes up that's in the zeitgeist that everybody's talking about. And I think it's just a very human thing to feel for ourselves and for others, that feeling of death, that's fear of death, you know. I mean, I think it's as simple as that, you know. And when, like I said, you know, the rubbernecking on the freeway, it's like I like to assume that it comes from a good place, that it comes from we care about other people. It's very emotional to see other people in pain, and I think that cinema is about us wanting to experience those large emotions, happiness, sadness, fear, you know. And so I think people that particularly enjoy that genre, it's just, that's their way of connecting to other humans, you know, is going through that feeling of being afraid. You know, we all do it in different ways. Some of us like roller coasters, some of us, you know, like to eat a lot of ice cream. You know, I just think we want to feel those big feelings. And this is just part of that.
Well, we've got one more question, and it means a lot that you joined us. Speaking of humanity, there is a big heart, a big level of humanity here. There's also the title, No Man of God. There's that slight religious. did you talk a lot with Bill about putting that into his character and bringing that and making it be a part of who he was?
Well, to me, the title "No Man of God," it refers to Bundy. Like we don't think he is a man of God. The writer is a believer in God and very religious. I am spiritual, not religious. Mm-hmm. Bill Hagmaier himself is a very faithful believer in God. And so to me, it was really, all of that was just so interesting, was like, how do we all connect to the concept of trying to be good, trying to be a good person? For some of us, it's God. For other of us, it's acts of service. Whatever it is, it's something different for each of us. But I was really interested in Bill's religion. He is a really religious guy, and that ultimately, like I talked about earlier, how do you sit so close to evil and not become evil yourself? Well, for Bill, the answer was belief in God. He really does believe in following the word of the Lord. That really keeps him happy and healthy and pure and mentally clear, and then you have somebody like Alexa Palladino's character, the lawyer, she doesn't believe in God. She's not religious, but she just really thinks the death penalty is wrong. So for her, she has to find other ways to stay true or altruistic and then I think Bundy was really like someone who was in between. He was raised in a religious family and home. His mother was religious, but I personally don't think he did actually believe in God. Bill told me another thing, which is that there are no atheists on death row, and I think that was just what happened to Bundy. That basically when he got to the time where he was going to be executed, he wanted to believe in God desperately, because then he was going to be offered redemption and salvation if he believed. But I don't think he ultimately did believe. So to me, it's like we have these different ends of the spectrum. You've got Carolyn, the lawyer, who doesn't believe. You've got Bill, who does believe, and then you've got Bundy in the middle, who like desperately wants to believe. So to me, it just was, I wasn't trying to pass any judgment on religion in any way. It was more just like presenting the different ways that people have relationship to the concept of God. And for Bill, there was never any question, because it's just, it's just a big part of who he is. When you talk to him, you can see, I never had to talk about it with him, because it was just really obvious he told me God is how I got through it. My faith, my faith and my family.
This is an excellent film.
It really was. It's such a interesting, intimate character piece, and just a very delicate topic to tackle, which you absolutely nailed. Like, I think you portrayed it perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
We're both very big fans of it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us very much. And please, everyone, see No Man of God. It's fantastic.
Definitely.
Really fantastic. Thank you for joining us, Amber.
Thank you, guys. Take
Great
care.
talking with you. Thank you.
You're amazing.
All
You're
right.
terrific.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
You think you're smarter than him. You think you're going to be the one that's going to get him to confess.
Well, I don't think I'm smarter, sir. I don't think you necessarily have to be smarter.
This is what's going to happen. He will come down. He'll toy with you for a little while.
Does your son know what you do?
He knows his daddy protects people.
He will cat and mouse with you. He will make you think you are getting somewhere.
Let's record and let's get this party started.
It is February 13th, 1986. This is Agent Bill Hagmaier. I'm sitting with Theodore.
No, Ted.
I'm sitting with Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy has 13 hours to live, and he is using those hours to try and buy himself more time.
He's ready to talk. He said he's ready to confess to everything, but only talk to one person. There are families out there looking for answers.
The world needs to know why he killed those girls.
You're some hotshot young upstart, and I'm your next big case. You're gonna be the guy who broke me. There are a lot of myths and misunderstandings about me.
What are you going to tell me?
Everything.
What do you think he wants?
You and I will sit down and have the conversation you've wanted this whole time.
When you get too close to a guy like this, you could lose your way.
Do you think you could kill somebody?
I'm an FBI agent.
That's not what I'm saying.
You can't hold these girls hostage.
I'm not playing games.
How many did you kill?
Let's say 30.
Let's say we talk about the real number.
30 is a nice round number. You're getting inside my head.
I'm looking for understanding.
You think they should kill me, don't you? You think it's my time to die?
Frankly, they probably should have done it a long time ago.
I'm going to take you somewhere that I've never taken anyone before. I need a moment with Bill. He's my best friend.